Next on GPS, a real treat. Bill Maher on how he sees America in the age of Trump. On Friday night, I was delighted to be a guest on Bill Maher's HBO show, Real Time. When that taping was over, I turned the tables on him, and I got to ask the questions. For my money, he's America's sharpest political satirist, and I wanted to hear his thoughts on the president and the nation at this juncture in history. I should note that both CNN and HBO are owned by Time Warner. Bill Maher, pleasure to have you on.
Always good to see you.
So, 6 months into the Trump era.
Seems like 60 years. I've aged. I didn't have gray hair when we started, Fareed.
What has surprised you?
I thought he would crash the stock market, and I still think he will. I'm hoping, actually, because that's one thing that would maybe lose him a lot of support in the Republican Party. But I thought and predicted, and I was wrong, that the stock market hates volatility and uncertainty, and who is more volatile than Donald Trump? But I guess I underestimated their greed, because they still want their tax cut.
What I've been surprised by is the degree to which his supporters still support him, right? I mean, if you look at even Republican support, it's still either in the high 70s, some polls in the low 80s. And, you know, you get the feeling it's not so much about ideology, because he's not that conservative. It's not so much about competence. He hasn't gotten much done. What do you think is going on?
Well, it's almost a protest vote. You know, I'm not surprised, because there is a certain percentage of people who are, I think, racist, and that's part of his appeal. And, you know, his dog whistle was louder than any dog whistle we've heard, and the Republicans have been playing that game since Nixon and the Southern strategy, and Reagan opening his campaign in Philadelphia, Mississippi. That's been going on a long time, but he just did it in a much more blatant way. So he can't deny that that's part of it. But there are many, many gettable voters, that, I mean, gettable by the Democrats, that put him over the top. And these are the people who I fight with, sometimes right here in this studio audience. This is that part of the Democratic Party that is plainly obnoxious. They are humorless. They're too politically correct. If you talk to Trump people, they're not unaware of his flaws. But what they always say, like the first thing, what they love about him, he's politically incorrect.
Yeah.
You know, all those years ago when I called the show Politically Incorrect, I wasn't exactly wrong. I failed miserably at driving a stake through its heart, but that was a problem, and it is a problem, and we've been choking on it, and he played that, and he still plays that. And they love that, and they would, even though they know that he's bad in a lot of ways, they would rather be on his team than those insufferable people on the left. That's how they think.
What do you think it is? It's a really interesting thing that I've grappled with in America. Is it, there's almost a sort of puritanism within the culture that says we're going to shame, we're going to censor, you know, that you can't say these things. Because it's very different, as you know, in a place like Europe. You don't have it. There's a peculiarity to the way in America on the right and left, but particularly on the left, there is this puritanism of, you know, the things you can't say.
And it's getting worse. I don't know how long I'm going to last. Really, I mean, it's worse every year. The things that they go after people for now. I mean, your colleague, I don't agree with him, Jeffrey Lord. I mean, CNN got rid of him because he said Zig Heil on a tweet. It was a joke. This has got to stop. This idea of people have to go away if they've offended me, even for one moment. How about just move on, turn the page, go to the next thing in your life. This idea that you cannot suffer one moment of pain, this comes, I think, from bad parenting. You know, these are the kids, these are the millennials, sorry millennials, but, you know, these are the kids who, you know, grew up yelling at their parents, something that never even crossed my mind that I could do. And parents negotiating everything, and this sense of entitlement that I should never feel any pain, even the pain of someone disagreeing with me. There's an alarming number of millennials who really don't even believe in free speech, because you know what? Free speech could lead to hurt feelings. Who gave these kids these priorities?
The Google guy who was fired for posting a memo in which he tried to discuss, he might have been right or wrong, but to be fired for expressing your views.
Every week, and colleges are completely out of control. I mean, the good side of it is that people are on the case now. I mean, like, I remember when I was pretty much alone screaming about this. This goes back to the 90s. And I think a lot of people, the mainstream people, get this now, that, colleges are not doing what colleges are supposed to do, which is broadening people's minds. They're doing the opposite.
So you think it could change? You think that there's...
It has to. And I also have heard encouraging things from people about the generation that's coming up behind the millennials. Every generation usually rebels against the one that came before them. And I think part of it is a rebellion against political correctness that I hope happens, and also against social media. Social media is not benign. People attached to their phones like that, getting all their news from just what someone shares on their Facebook page. This is not the way you get news if you really care about what's going on. And I think there is a generation that I hope is going to rebel against that, because, I don't take pictures. People always are asking me to take pictures, and I say handshake, hug, eye contact, and usually they get it. Sometimes they don't even hear me, and they lift the phone anyway. Yeah. I'm like, hello, I just said I don't do it. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's just so automatic that life has to come through a screen. It's killing us.
Don't go away. We have much more with Bill Maher when we return. Back now with much more of my interview with Bill Maher. We recorded at CBS Television City in Los Angeles, where he does his HBO show Real Time. The program is now in its 15th season. You've spent a lot of time talking about what the Democrats should do.
Yeah.
So where do you, when you look at this issue of should they move more left, should they move more right, what's the answer?
I think that's not the question. There is of course, there always is going to be in a big party a difference between the center left and the far left. It's more how you fight the battle. They're just not good at politics. The Russia story is a great example. How can they not make that stick? I mean, these people were colluding with the country who, for my whole life, was the enemy. Even after communism fell, we found out, oh, okay, there were things that were deeper than communism that separated us. And Vladimir Putin certainly has ties back to those days, and he is not our friend. For Donald Trump this week to be thanking him for kicking out 750 Americans, these are State Department people doing valuable work. Some of them were spies, and we should have spies there. Now we have nobody there to keep an eye on what Putin's doing. And the President of the United States thanks Putin? That's, last week we had a Obama impersonator here, my friend Reggie Brown, who brilliantly, just said the things Trump has said. I said, what would it look like if Obama had said John McCain is not a war hero and so forth? I wish he was back here this week to do the one where Trump thanks Putin for kicking our people out. I don't know what it takes for the Democrats to seize on this. They're saying it's not a winner for them, this issue. Make it a winner. It can't be that hard.
What about the idea of having this gut connection that the Democrats find it more difficult to have with particularly kind of the white working class? I see the difference between Bill and Hillary so clearly. The same policies, right? I mean, they had the same advisors in many. People felt like Bill Clinton got them. Just at the gut, and they felt like Hillary was aloof, distant.
And that's how Trump voters and lots of Americans feel about Trump. I mean,
so you've got to find the right person.
Well, there's a funny part in your special about why people went for Trump, where the guy says this guy craps in a gold toilet, and he got the working people to vote for him. But a great point is made that the problems that we had a generation ago in urban America. And now the problems you see in, white middle America, drug overdoses and families breaking up and joblessness, and, the center of town looks blighted. And I mean, I travel this country doing stand-up all the time. I've seen it. That's why one reason I thought, oh, Trump could get elected. You know, you drive through a lot of these cities, just from the airport to the hotel to the gig, and you're like, ooh, wow, this place looks like crap. Somebody could win an election here. Yeah.
Do you think is the circus of Trump sort of, is it entertaining people? Well, I mean, how it's great for you, obviously, but
He's good for business.
But
I can't deny.
But is there a danger that the circus becomes the new norm?
Well, there's definitely a danger. I mean, I have gone through some very dark moments right before the election, right after it, because, look, he's besieged now by the Russia investigation, and he can't get his legislation through Congress and so forth, but it's only 6 months in. Say the Russia card is played out. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. He could survive the whole Russia thing. And usually, you know, when you go after the leader and you don't get him, he becomes stronger. He totally wants to be a dictator. It's so obvious. The people he admires in the world, Putin, even Kim Jong-un, he said, is a smart cookie. It wasn't that long ago he said, I would be honored. I'd be honored to rain fire and fury on you. You know, Sisi in Egypt, and Duarte, and the nut in Turkey, and these are the people he likes. He so wants to be that guy who can do whatever he wants. I asked the panel last week, do you think, Ralph Friedman said, do you think Putin has ordered people killed? He said, absolutely. I said, do you think Trump would do that if he could? No. I do. I think if Trump could do that, he would do all the things dictators do. So yes, that's very frightening.
And if he were, let's say, if Mueller came up with something substantial, a lot of people wonder, Trump may just go to the mattresses. You know, he may fight back. He may do. Richard Nixon accepted the verdict, in a sense, of the American judicial system. Would Trump?
I don't know if he was going to accept losing this last election. I mean, right up until the moment he lost, it was all about, it's rigged. The whole thing was rigged, it's unfair. Now he's talking about how, oh, you know, it's just an excuse, this Russia thing. Just an excuse, he tells his people, to take the election away from you. Yeah, once somebody like that gets power, I don't know if you're going to get them to give it up, nor do I trust the voting next time. This is an ongoing problem. This isn't just something that happened once, the meddling in the election. They're going to do it again. Comey said so when he testified before Congress. He said they're going to come back. This is crows who found something to kill, and they like that nest, and they're not going to just go away quietly until we stop them. But the president, who's supposed to be our commander-in-chief in this war, and it is a war, is AWOL in the battle. To me, that's impeachable.
So here you are, I mean, you do comedy, and you said you sound like you're having some dark thoughts.
I am. I mean, he sued me once. I can only imagine if he had dictatorial powers, what he would do to people he doesn't like. I mean, it's obvious that if you're not on the side of just completely kissing his behind, then you're an enemy. I mean, he goes after Mitch McConnell and his own attorney general. What do you think he would do to somebody like me if he ever heard the things? Thank God he doesn't watch the show. People say, do you think Trump watches the show? I hope not. Please, I hope he does not watch the show.
Otherwise, you'd be in jail.
I could be.
Bill Maher, pleasure to have you alive and free.
Okay. Yeah, for as long as it lasts. Thank you, Fareed.
Pleasure.